Back to GAA for a moment. We're going to be talking about the club championships around the country in just a minute. We'll run you through all of the main stories, in particular Owen's love for East Kerry and why they're going to win the Kerry County Championship, but not the club championship because they're not allowed to play. We'll get our annual explainer from in a minute on that. Here's Cian O'Sullivan talking Diarmuid Connolly and first Sean Cavanagh at the Electric Ireland Minor Star Awards on Saturday night, discussing officiating in the club game.
What should be done? What can be done? Is anything going to be done?
Okay, well, it really comes back to the officials, and it comes back to if the referees, linesmen, umpires are capable of officiating a game properly. Quite often games won't boil over and won't get to that stage where we've seen some ugly scenes. And look, everyone wants passion, and whenever I play, I bring as much passion as anyone does. The only thing you don't want is dangerous tackles. You don't want people hitting from behind, from the side. You don't want anything that's going to discourage maybe parents to send their kids to Gaelic over a soccer or a rugby whenever they're choosing sports. So I think if county boards and officials and the GAA make the right decisions and if we can increase the technical ability of referees and their ability to interpret what's dangerous and what's part of the cut and thrust in the game, I think we can definitely improve our games or product. I always was a huge advocate whenever I played international rules. There was a second referee in the pitch, and there was always the off-the-ball stuff, the ugly stuff was always watched. And you knew as a player you were being watched because quite often, and even at club level, the stuff that goes on, it goes on when the referee's back is turned and maybe there's neutral, or there isn't neutral linesmen or umpires. And, players will push the boundaries whenever they have the opportunity to do that. So I'm not sure whether we have enough to get a second referee on a pitch, but maybe at county level, maybe it's a start.
You've mentioned Dermo, so I'll ask you about him. He's in Boston now, flying. Scored an unbelievable goal recently, I saw. Missing from the Dublin camp this season. Did you miss him, and do you miss him, and have you spoke to him since the three, and do you hope to have him back in blue, or what's your thoughts on his exodus?
Yeah, you'd obviously love to have Dermot back. He's incredible talent and one of the leaders in the team and our vice captain the last couple of years, and I'm glad he got the chance to go over and spend a summer over in the States, something that he obviously wanted to do over the last number of years, and I hope he really enjoyed it. And if he decides to come back playing football with the Dubs, I'd be absolutely delighted, and I know the rest of the lads would as well. But that's the decision for him, and I don't have any insights into what he's thinking these days. I think he's just enjoying his time at the moment, enjoying the bit of ball he's playing over there, and it'd be great to see him back.
Were you surprised that he stopped playing for the Dubs?
No, there's a couple of guys who've done that the last couple of years. Roy O'Carroll, decided that he wanted to do a bit of travelling and experience living in a different country and a different culture. And he's been over in New Zealand the last couple of years. And there's Jack McCaffrey as well, who decided I want to take a summer out and do a bit of charity work. So we're not professionals. We've got lives to live as well, and football does take a massive commitment, and you have to 100% buy into it.
Yeah, so that was all before the news broke that Diarmuid Connolly was back in harness this weekend for Vincent's officially.
Yeah, shall we try and go through all of the club action from the weekend? It's one of those weekends where it's impossible to go through everything in a concise manner, but let's try and do it anyway. Let's start off with Vincent's against Castleknock. Vincent's beating them comprehensively in the end. 12-point winners. Diarmuid Connolly came on after 50 minutes.
Have a listen. There you go. Is that Parnell Park? Let's go like Parnell.
Yeah.
Is it? Anyway,
there he is.
Came on, played well. Game was over at that stage, but Castleknock were a goal up after 10 seconds. Back of the net from Kieran Kilkenny. This is going to be interesting because obviously.
Was it Kilkenny?
I think so. Yeah. No.
I don't think it was.
You had different information. Okay, Grant. I thought he was playing full forward at the start and scored an early goal. Anyway, maybe. Castleknock had reached a club final against them, obviously, and so that was the expectation that maybe this Vincent team were going to get caught by them, because at some point they're going to get caught, right?
Yeah. 7 All-Ireland medal winners about to start in Parnell Park. This was Brian Flanagan's tweet before the game, though you wouldn't know it by the size of the crowd. This is actually something worth mentioning. We are always given these horror stories about how club football or hurling is dying, but like in the Kerry Championship, which we'll get to in a moment as well, and you'll hear in a moment, you could hear the calls on the pitch, and there was people tweeting before the game saying very, very small turnout here. Like, I know the fact that the Kerry games were on TV probably didn't help. A lot of people will be interested in watching the golf as well. Like, nobody went to the Down game in 2010 because they were all down in Clarny watching the golf. Maybe they were at home watching the Ryder Cup.
Nobody went to the Down game because you don't go to travel.
No, blame the golf for that one.
Come on. I mean, that's the truth. I don't know, because I was like just thinking yesterday that there's a good chance that the Dublin County Championship and the Kerry County Championship will become the best that Gaelic football has to offer over the next couple of years if the inter-county scene continues the way it's going. That like the competitiveness, the lack of defensive, the decision that the counties have made to play attacking football as opposed to just be defensive and not have an attacking threat to your game. And also how close the teams are to each other.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing, really, isn't it? Like, you would have thought that maybe, certainly on the outset, from the outset looking in, you would have thought it would have been a Vincent's versus Ballymun final if they were to avoid each other, but that's not going to materialise because Ballymun are out. Just one other mention for Vincent. Mossy Quinn scored 1-6 for them at the weekend, so he's still doing it, and they played Judes, as you can see there, in the next round. They were the ones who knocked out Ballymun Kickham, despite the fact that Dean Rock scored 1-7 in that match. Ballyboden St Enda's had a healthy enough win against Nafina, 3-13 to 15 points. We mentioned the Baskels earlier on. Ryan Baskell scored 2-5. Colin Baskell scored 1-2. Conal Keeney then chipped in with 3 points. Ballyboden St Enda's are going to take some beating here. If you want to put that drawback up for just a sec, yes, they do avoid St Vincent's. So like you are looking at a Bowden against Vincent's final there. Of course, Kilmacud Crokes will take good beating as well. They're an outstanding team. They beat Sylvester's 2-17 to 15 points at the weekend. Obviously, Paul Mannion in tow for Kilmacud. So the Dublin Football Championship is kind of being stirred up nicely at the moment. What you need is like a shock here and there while maintaining strong teams for a top quality football championship. And the Dublin Senior Football Championship is so deep with top quality talent in every team, really, that you do manage to get that with Ballymun being knocked out. You mentioned Kerry there. It was a quarterfinals weekend, doubleheader in Tralee on Saturday, doubleheader in Killarney yesterday.
The decision to split the dubs, if you were ever to do it, that Bowden Crokes, that'd be like an entire Dublin team themselves. That's like the south side. Well, you'd obviously be adding in Conor Callahan and Mick Fitzsimons, but that is like the battle for the south side. Kings of the south side, official, unofficial south side championship final right there.
Yeah, it's will they party in, what is it, Keogh's afterwards? What's the name? Where was the fight after the schools game?
Kylie's.
Keogh, sorry. Apologies that there's a place called Keogh's. Kylie's. That's where they should go afterwards to celebrate or kind of drown their sorrows. Kerry football quarterfinals, you mentioned there, East Kerry beating South Kerry 4-12 to 2-10. Dara Roach scoring 2-3 for East Kerry. The two Cliffords doing a lot of damage as well. Apologies now for the quality of this videoing. I'm not very good at the old videoing, but you can have a listen to this audio after David Clifford gets the ball in the corner, goes onto his left, tries to put it over the bar, and balloons it wide.
I
might just play that one more time. You're going to have to listen closely.
Oh, what a score, boy!
Oh, fuck off, is the response. So now we don't have to.
Is it Clifford saying, oh, fuck off?
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Is it?
It has to be.
Is it? And so the guy
marking him is like, what a score.
No, it's people in the crowd.
Ah, no, it's
Come
not.
on, it must be.
It's not.
It's the two lads. It has
to be. That's the way I took it, I think. No matter who it is, it's brilliant. Like, that is, that's just...
Club football writ large.
Yeah, without question.
Oh, let's go by when you're like a shank that goes nowhere near it.
The thing is, like...
Did it go out for a sideline?
Goal kick.
Oh, did it? Did it go wide?
It did just about, though. That's actually one of the great pastimes I have, is actually, if you listen closely on league matches or club matches in TG Carhart, actually what's being said in the crowd, you can always pick out what a lot of people are saying if they're particularly angry and things like that. But it was a good day in the end for Clifford. Yeah,
What a score, boy!
There was one. I could hear a friend of ours giving out particularly in a particularly vitriolic way to the referee in a Kerry League match actually last year. You could hear very clearly what he was saying. You're an absolute joke, ref. It was the polite way.
It wasn't you, no.
It wasn't me. Don't worry.
And sorry, just to confirm though that yesterday on our WhatsApp group about what was coming up in the show today, I was like, oh, we do the club football. I look, this Legion game is on, and Owen is watching the golf just to further. Just to pile on the fact that he didn't go to the All-Ireland minor final when Kerry were doing their first 5 in a row to go off and see that music shite at Electric Picnic. He was watching that golf shite yesterday instead. So you are getting kicked out of the Kerry Mafia.
Maybe I will. It'll save me a few crappy trips during the league anyway in February, so I'm happy with that. Not really. Darragh Roach there, as we said, scored 2-3 for East Kerry yesterday. Not sure to get man of the match. Crokes, though, they're kind of back with a vengeance. You wouldn't like Crokes when they're angry, I think is the phrase here. They beat Legion by a scoreline of 120 to 9 points. Tony Brosnan kicking 9 points for them yesterday. One of that crew that kind of came along just before the 5 in a row All-Ireland minor winning teams. That kind of gets forgotten about because he doesn't have an All-Ireland medal, which is very unfair, given that there's going to be plenty of those All-Ireland minor winners that aren't going to make it at senior level, but there should be people prior to that who should make it to senior level quite successfully, and he's been given a chance before. He might get a chance again under a new manager.
Well, so there was an interview afterwards where he was basically issuing a come and get me plea to the new manager.
I missed that.
Sure, I'm available anyway.
Yeah,
if they want me.
He has played. He came on against Clare, I think, in an All-Ireland quarter-final.
Oh, they went through the whole. You were part of the panel, you made it the league team, and you got dropped from it, and you got injuries. And he was like, yeah, my form was bad, got a few injuries, just wasn't playing well. Now I'm playing well. And sure, the new county manager in and everything was like, yeah, there is. I'm available if they want me.
Yeah, he's playing very, very well at the moment. Dingle beat Austin Stacks 3-9 to 9 points. Paul Ganey scored 2-3 in that game. But the big story from this match was that Mark O'Connor was back from Australia only about 4 or 5 days before the fixture and lined out, played as a sweeper in front of Kieran Donaghy. Kieran Donaghy didn't score. O'Connor did get taken off with about 20 minutes left. But quite a successful deploying of the sweeper there. We are saying that club football in Kerry is in a good state and all that, but there was a sweeper, I will admit, played in that game, but it worked to great effect for them. They won by 9 points in the end. And then the final clash was Cairns O'Rahilly's, who of course had sent Dr. Crokes to the back door and had clearly made Dr. Crokes quite angry given the scores they put up over the last 2 games. They beat St. Brendan's on a 3-11 to 115 scoreline. Tommy Walsh and David Bourne both scored 1-1, and we can see the draw here from Radio Kerry yesterday.
Folded up around, and first out of the cup here this afternoon is Cairns O'Rahilly's, and Jim Garvey of Garvey Group will pick the second team. So it's Cairns O'Rahilly's versus...
So Cairns O'Rahilly's against Dr. Crokes once again.
Cairns O'Rahilly's versus Dr. Crokes. So it's easy to do the other ones, lads, I suppose.
This semi-final stage.
Semi-finals.
The hometown of the Garvey
Dingle versus
Group.
East Kerry, is it?
Dingle are taking on East Kerry, and before we...
So, yeah, they're going to be two cracking encounters. Like, the thing is, the very easy narrative to write about this is that, as I say, Crokes are very, very angry. They are not going to allow Rahilly's to beat them a second time. Because, of course, in that match, Crokes were killing them at half-time, and Rahilly's came roaring back. Tommy Walsh was unbelievable in that match. And
Cairns O'Rahilly's is Micheál Quirke's team?
Exactly.
Against
Dr.
Crokes. And the other one is East Kerry against
Dingle.
And why is Dingle able to field a team when they're... Is Dingle a regional team as well?
No, West Kerry will be their regional team. So West Kerry, let's put it this way, would be delighted if Dingle ever got relegated from the senior championship and got put into intermediate. Therefore, you'd have Ungaeltucht and Dingle together as part of West Kerry and the other small clubs around that area. Whereas, say if Dr. Crokes got relegated from senior championship, which will never happen, they would actually be playing with East Kerry. So it could be an all East Kerry final, so to speak, in the county championship between the East Kerry district and Dr. Crokes.
And who's making up the East Kerry team at the moment?
Well, it's very strong at the moment because Kilcummin got relegated last year.
From senior.
And they also have Glenflesk.
So, how many senior clubs are there?
You're putting me on the spot here.
Roughly?
10, I want to say.
Okay, and so they automatically qualify for this championship. And then how many regional teams are there? 3, 4?
No, so you've got West, North, East and South, and then you've got like St. Kieran's, you've got St. Brendan's, you've got Shannon Rangers, which are different regions of the county. So you've got 8, if I'm not forgetting one there. I'm sure someone will correct me. So you've got 7 or 8.
And so if you are an intermediate or junior footballer, you can join with your local region and you automatically get qualified for this, and it's straight knockout?
There is one phase, one backdoor phase, but if you get knocked out obviously at the weekend, you're done. So yeah, everybody gets to play senior county championship, which is fantastic. It's a fantastic way of actually finding unearthly gems really at the top level of club football down there. So it's a brilliant idea. The thing for East Kerry though this year is that in the intermediate championship, which is played in April, Kilcummin won that, so they're getting promoted to senior next year, which means East Kerry will lose Kilcummin, and they had 5 or 6 starters in that East Kerry team yesterday to be very, very strong. So
who's Clifford play for?
Fossa. They won't get promoted to senior unless they've got a slew of good young players coming up. Clifford probably won't be good enough to carry them on his own to senior, maybe to intermediate, but not to senior. So it's kind of do or die really this year for East Kerry. We may move on to the Meath Football Championship to round off kind of the last big action. Dunboyne beat Simonstown 2-16 to 8 points, which was an incredible result. Like Dunboyne are into their first final in a few years. Simonstown were going for 3 finals in a row. They were up by 4 points at one stage at half time, I think. They won the last 2 championships. And then in the other semi-final, Summerhill beat Dunamore Ashbourne in a 3-12 to 2-7 scoreline. So that's the first ever clash between Summerhill and Dunboyne in the Meath football final. Let's run through very quickly what happened in the rest of the other football championships. So Derry Connolly Harps are Fermanagh champions. Ryan Jones scored 1-2. They beat Eden Derry in the final. And then we have a slew of football finals confirmed. So Laois is going to be Port Laois against O'Dempsey's. Loud will be Newtown Blues against Nave Martin. Offaly is going to be Road against Ferban. And Sligo is going to be Turla Stranraer there anyway in the Sligo final. The other semi-final was due to take place at the weekend against Tubbercurry, against Coolani, Mullinabrina, but that clash was called off due to a bereavement in the Tubbercurry club. And then Wexford's going to be Shelmaliers against Killenarin. Matty Ford scoring 1-3 for them at the weekend. So there's a few of the football finals confirmed. Tyrone back in action at the weekend. We saw Sean Cavanagh talking about club football in Tyrone. Eden Dork got through to the semi-final there against Ardbow, while Omagh, in a pretty surprising result, were knocked out by Killyclogher, and Errigal Kieran were knocked out by Coal Island. There was no accidental violence this week in the Tyrone County Championship, which I'm pleased to report. The Donegal semi-finals are confirmed as well. Kilcar were knocked out. They were missing like Paddy McBrearty, Ryan McHugh, and then they lost Mark McHugh in the first half, and Glen Swilly are through, as are McCools and Gaydor. And to finish off in the football end of things, Cracklow are into the semi-final in the Clare Football Championship. They beat Coor Clare by a cool 18 points yesterday. They're also into the semi-final. In the hurling, the hurling wasn't as, I guess, they didn't have as much volume over the course of the weekend, but there was still a lot of things to pique the interest. Cork, we'll start off with Emo Killy beating UCC on a 321 to 115 scoreline. Seamus Harnedy with an early goal there to get them on their way. Mark O'Keefe, this is an interesting one for Emo Killy. He's a midfielder. He was playing the night before, and he managed to poke 5 points from play anyway, and they kept Mark Coleman scoreless, which was obviously vital to beating UCC. And Middleton are going to be the other team in the final. Connolly Han scored 1-6 for them. Kilkenny then are third last county to go through. Ballyhale Shamrocks beat Dixborough on a 124 to 119 scoreline. TJ Reid 115, not bad, not a bad day out. They're away the winners now of James Stevens against Aaron's Own. Aaron's Own beat Carrick Shock at the weekend in the kind of preliminary quarter-final stage. The other 2 quarter-finals of the weekend, Bennett's Bridge had a win and Clara had a win. Then Tip. So the semi-finals pairings are confirmed. In one semi-final, you've got Thurles Sarsfields against Nina Aeroog. Now, this was a crazy game involving Sarsfields at the weekend. Ronan Maher scored a goal 2 minutes into injury time to beat Kilruan McDonough's on a 214 to 116 scoreline. Like they are on the way for a record equaling 5 titles in a row, and they were on the way out. So it was game over, and then Ronan Maher just stepped up out of nowhere with a beautiful goal to save them. And then Nina Aeroog beat Lockmore Castleiney 217 to 18 points yesterday. The other semi-final pairing is Toomey Vara against Clonalty Rossmore. A thrilling finish in the Toomey Vara game. They were up against Druminch. Seamus Callinan scored 11 points for Druminch, but they were 7 points and a man up with 20 minutes to go, and they did win in the end, but it ended up just being a 1 point win in the end, so it was nervous times for them. And Clonalty Rossmore beat Killadangan by 4 points. And then finally Galway hurling, we're into the last 8. St Thomas's, Liam Mellows, Loughrea and Sarsfields are into the last 8, I should say, and then there's like a preliminary quarter-final yet to take place. Cashilgar, Tommy Larkins, Capatagal, Gort, Turlockmore and Tyna Abbey Duneri are in there as well. Portumna not going well for them. They faced a relegation playoff. Yeah. They lost to Malad 121 to 120 at the weekend. Mulya, yeah, that's it. Joe Canning versus Cathal Dervin was the shootout at the weekend from all those spectators who kindly tweeted and helped give match reports. I should give a shout out to the Irish Examiner Club GAA section, where a lot of that information came from this morning. It's like a 12-page supplement on Club GAA. It is outstanding. Yeah. There is a lot of copy in that, and it was a great help this morning, so big shout out to the Irish Examiner. Yeah, no, fair play to them indeed.